What's up, guys? Welcome to Games and Video Games TV. I'm your host, as always, Real Steel Games. So, in this video, we're going to be talking about a topic that I really love to discuss, and that is leg training and the squat specifically, and why squatting high is never going to be as good as squatting deep. So, before we get into it, let me just say I stream almost every day over on Twitch. The link is in the description box below. If you like the content here, please come check us out over there at twitch.tv/Real Steel Games. And if you like the video, please like the video and subscribe. So let's get right into it. This week we're talking about the squat. And the reason I wanted to talk about it is in the 4 to 5 years I've been training and then also attending my undergraduate for exercise science, I've seen so much information and so much misinformation about leg training within the community. And one of the things that I saw many times throughout those 4 to 5 years is that squatting high will hit your quadriceps better than squatting low. And let me tell you guys, this could not be further from the truth. So, to explain to you why this is not true, we're going to start with talking about the anatomy of the quadriceps muscle itself. So, the quadriceps muscle group is made up of three different muscles mainly, and that is your vastus lateralis, your vastus medialis, and your rectus femoris. The first muscle I want to talk about is the rectus femoris. And the reason why I want to talk about this muscle first is that it actively crosses two of your joints within your lower body. It's going to cross your hip joint and it's going to cross your knee joint because its origin is on your iliac or your hip, and its insertion is actually going to be the patella tendon, which crosses your knee. Understanding the insertions and the origins of these muscles can help you understand the main antithesis of what I want to talk about today, and that is contractions. So we have two types of contractions that we're going to talk about today. We have a concentric contraction, which is the shortening of the muscle, and an eccentric contraction, which is the lengthening of the muscle. So to completely contract a muscle, you want to shorten it as much as you possibly can and lengthen it as much as we possibly can. And we always want to do this under a significant load for you as an individual. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to lift necessarily heavy, quote unquote, but it just means that you need to apply a great enough load that it'll create a stimulus for yourself. This is going to be greatly different depending on individuals, depending on body size, height, weight, all those factors are going to matter. Due to the fact that your quadricep muscles share the insertion of your patella tendon, which crosses your knee joint, it would stand to reason that your quadricep muscles will be eccentrically contracted or lengthened the most when your knee is at the greatest degree of its flexion, or the lowest degree, if you want to think of it in that manner. It would also stand to reason that because the rectus femoris crosses the hip joint, that the rectus femoris will be eccentrically contracted the most at the lowest degree of hip flexion. So that's going to be the angle between your torso and your femur, or your upper leg, thigh, whatever you want to call it. So now that we've reached the bottom of the squat and our hip joint is flexed to its greatest degree, our knee joint is flexed to our greatest degree, our quadriceps are eccentrically contracted or lengthened to its greatest degree, we now have to squat the weight back up. So when we talk about the concentric portion, our quadriceps want to come back to its resting length, which means it needs to shorten. So when we talk about muscle being the agonist or the prime mover in the movement, that means it is doing the most work in this movement. There are other muscles assisting, but the quadriceps is doing the work in this movement. It would stand to reason that the longer the contraction and the greater the contraction, the more work the quadriceps have to do. So if you squat deep and you extend that muscle as far as it can extend, and then it has to come all the way back, that means it's going to have to do more. Now that I've filled your head with all the anatomical jargon and said quadriceps so much that you never want to hear the word quadriceps again, we're going to get into the movement portion of this video. And the reason this portion of the video is going to be important is because we're going to be talking about how you can squat deep. Because not everybody can squat deep comfortably in bare feet or thin shoes. I personally cannot. I have to elevate my heel quite aggressively to squat deep due to a medical condition I was born with called FAI, or femoral acetabular impingement, which basically means that my range of motion in my hip is not good. I've already had hip surgery for it once, and it still is not the best. So I have to put a plate under my heels as well as wear Olympic lifting shoes in order to elevate my heel enough to squat deep comfortably. Other people are going to be able to squat deep comfortably with flat shoes. Some people will need just a little bit of elevation, or people like me who need aggressive elevation. The point is that we're getting that deep squat where our hamstrings are hitting the back of our calves and we're getting a full range of motion. That's the important part. It's not important how you get there, it's important that you can do it comfortably. All right, guys. We've already talked extensively about why squatting deep is better, but this portion of the video, we're just going to keep it short and talk a little bit about different modifications you can use to squat deeply. As you can see here for myself, I have modified my leverages quite a bit. I'm not only wearing lifter shoes, which elevate my heels, I also have a slim plate slid underneath my feet to further elevate my heels. This is really necessary for me, being that I'm 6'4" and I've had hip issues my whole life. This really helps me squat deeply in a comfortable position that I might not be able to without the needed equipment. However, for yourself, you might be able to achieve this deep of a squat without any of these alterations, and that's totally okay. Don't think that just because you can squat deeply without these alterations, that means you need these alterations. This is merely an example of the fact that anybody can squat deeply. I have very, very weird underlying conditions, yet I can still achieve a deep squat. So anybody can do it. You just have to figure out which leverage alterations work the best for you. Usually, if you can't squat deeply with flat shoes, it's going to be some sort of heel elevation. So, that being said, squatting deep is super, super important and something we really want to aim for when trying to build the quadricep muscles in our legs. If you have any questions about the actual form of the squat as it pertains to bracing or ankle mobility, hip mobility, these things, I can do a video about that in the future. However, we're going to leave it right here for now. There are great videos out there that you can find which will tell you all about the form of the squat and what you should be aiming for. But like I said, if this gets enough attention, I may make a video specifically about form.